Hello, everybody. Hope you all are doing great. As always, I'm thrilled and equally excited to meet you all through another episode of this Data Dictionary series. In today's episode, we'll be discussing in detail about the search or input help. The search or input helps is an important fundamental concept of SAP dictionary objects. So, the search helps is basically present at all levels when you execute a transaction, when you run a standard report, when you run a custom report, or even while checking the entries of any particular table. The search helps are always there almost in all the screens of SAP that we deal with. It's very important to understand these concepts in detail because it helps us in narrowing down, or in other words, it will help us to do our work more smarter. Now, since we deal with dictionary object concepts, the search help again belongs to the same T code S11. So before we get into the other concepts of search helps, let us understand the types of search helps. The search helps are basically categorized into two types on an elemental level. One is an elementary search help and another is a collective search help. To explain these differences, I will directly show it via a program. Here I have two different parameters. I have assigned two different data elements. So one data element is assigned with collective search help and another is assigned with an elementary search help. Now, how can we check the data element? What kind of search help is assigned to a data element? As we have seen in our previous deep dive videos on data element, double click on the data element, reach out to the further characteristics tab. You will have a particular box only for assignment of search help. Now, when you double click on the search help, you will find the type of search help that is used. So as you can see here, it is a collective search help. Similarly, when you do the same for the second field, you will find it is an elementary search help. Okay, so these are all the two different search helps. Now to understand the practical difference, I'll execute and show it to you. When I press F4 on an elemental search help field, you will get a single tab with a group of fields. So what does this group of fields do? Now, if I know the values for any of this field, using which I will narrow down the actual field value I'm interested in. Now, for example, both these fields are basically a customer field. Now I'm trying to search for a customer whose name starts with GP. So I'm putting a star, which is a pattern. When I press enter, it lists down all the customers whose name starts with GP. Now when I select double click on any particular line item, the customer number there gets copied here. So this is the application of search help. But as far as the elementary search help is concerned, when you use an elementary search help, you will get a single tab with a collection of fields or a group of fields with which you can find out the field or the value that you wanted. Now, what happens when I press F4 on a collective search help? You will find multiple tabs available for a collective search help. So, in other words, collective search help is a collection of elementary search helps. When all these elementary search helps are cascaded into a single search help, it's called as a collective search help. Now, why do we need a collective search help? For instance, I may be knowing only the partner in the coding block details. So using these details, I can narrow down the customer I'm trying to search. Now there can be another person who knows only the accounting group details. So using this tab, he will be able to narrow down the customer that he is searching. Similarly, there are different elementary search helps assigned, or in other words, cascaded into a collective search help. Each elementary search help will serve a different set of fields. Each of us may have a knowledge on different tabs using which we can narrow down to the customer that we actually wanted. So these are all part of this collective search helps. So each one of them is an elementary search help. So in summarize, an elementary search help is a single tab with a group of fields which helps us in narrowing now down to the value that we wanted, whereas a collective search help is a collection of elementary search helps. Now moving on, there is another concept called append search help. Now what is an append search help? It's not a type of search help, rather it is a concept which is used for enhancement of search helps. Whenever I wanted to add a custom search help to a standard search helps, I go for append search helps. Again, this append search help can be both elementary and collective search help. The technical details, the implementation details, the practical differences between all these three, all the search helps that we have just discussed, will be more clearer when we get into the hands-on part of the video. We will reach out to the hands-on part in the later videos. For now, we are only discussing about the theoretical concept. Moving on, finding search help in fields. Now, you get into any transaction, okay? you can get into any transaction. For example, I'm getting into a transaction called VA43. So if you press F4 on this field, you will have search help that is you will have a search help that is displayed for us, and it will display for us either an elementary or a collective search help. In this case, it is displaying a collective search help. Now, how we will know what is the name of the search help that is being assigned here? To know the name of the search help that is assigned to any field, it is important to understand where all a search help can be related to. So that's what we are going to discuss now, understanding the search help assignments. First, the data element level. Yes, we have just seen how a search help is assigned to a data element, and in the further characteristics tab of a data element, you can assign a search help. The second one, you can assign a search help in the screen. Now, take in case of screen, we have a DinPro screens in SAP wherein we will design our own screens. So the standard transactions is also again designed via standard screens. So you can assign search helps at the screen level as well. Now, if you want to find out the search help that is assigned to this field, double click there. You will get a different properties tab. So here, reach to the bottom, go to the dictionary attributes, and you will find a field for search help. So here is where the search help is assigned for this particular field, right? That's what I have discussed here. The third one is the fixed values concept. Now, as if you have watched my previous videos on domains, wherein we have dived deep into the concepts of domain, we will have a certain tab for domain called fixed values. For instance, let me take you through to one of a domain. So this is a domain. This is a domain that we have discussed already in my previous videos. If you get into this domain, you will have a tab called value range. So here you will have a fixed values tab, right? So these values, whatever has been maintained here, can also help us while we press F4 on certain fields. So when we press F4 on certain fields and you don't have any search help assigned to that particular field, but you have fixed values maintained, those values will get displayed directly. So when during F4, if certain values are getting displayed and you don't find any search help assigned to it, then it means that it belongs to the domain of that particular field, right? The fourth way of assigning search helps to a field can be a table level. Now, if you go to a table, say here we are reaching out to a table called VBAP, and there is a separate tab called input or help check for the fields. Now, here you will have a separate column called search help. So, search helps can be assigned here as well. Okay, so these search helps can be through different medium. I mean, the origin of these search helps can be different. For instance, here the search helps origin is input help is implemented with check table. So the check table here is T000. So the origin of this particular search help is basically from T000. What are all the entries present in T000 will be used as a list that is getting displayed when we press F4 on this field that is used in this table. Okay, another one is explicit search help interface to the field. Here you directly select the field, click on the search help, and you can assign a search help here directly. Okay, and the third way is you can find input help with fixed values, the one just we discussed. So for this, though there is no search help assigned, but still there will be input help which will directly come from fixed values. Okay, so there are different ways in which the search help can be assigned to a field. Now, for instance, take in case of this particular transaction, say let me okay, consider this particular field. This is one of the standard transaction. When I press F4, I find a search help that is being assigned. Okay, I find a search help that is getting displayed. Now I am interested to understand where or what is the value of this particular search help. To know the value of the search help that is assigned, it is important to know how all the search helps can be assigned. So that's what we discussed in these 4 points. Now, based upon the knowledge on these 4 points, let us try to find out the search help that is assigned. So when I press F4 on this particular field and I go to the technical settings tab, there is an icon called with the spanner icon, this technical information icon. Click on that particular technical information. You will get displayed with this field. So here you have the program name, you have a screen number. You can directly reach out to the screen and check if any search help that is assigned to the particular field. Or you can directly reach out to this table, to this particular field name, and check in the input or help tab whether a search help is assigned. Or you can directly check in the data element of this particular field if any search help is assigned. Or as you can see here, there is a search help directly displayed in form of a field. So for many of the fields, you will have, if a search help is assigned, you can find it via the search help tab itself. To validate, or in other words, since we know how a search help can be assigned to a field, we can also check the same field through the technical information. You can find the same value in the particular screen assigned to this particular field. For example, here we have VMVA as the search help assigned, right? Now, if you go to this data element of this particular field, if you go to further characteristics, you have no search help assigned. So, the one way of finding a search help has, I mean, we are not successful in finding out the search help in the first way. Now, let's move to the second way. What is this? In the table level, you can go to the table VBAC, and you can go into the input or search help field. There, if you get into this particular VBLN, you find a different search help assigned. So it is basically assigned using explicit search help interface parameter, which is selecting the field and assigning the search help by clicking on this button, and we are assigning a search help. So this is again not the search help that we are looking for, right? So the second way also, we are not able to reach out to the actual search help that we wanted. Now let's move on to the third way. Reach out to the program. Obviously, this VBLN field, I mean, if you get into the data element of it, and if you check the domain of it, and if you check the fixed values, there will not be any fixed values maintained for this particular VBLN. So out of four methods, all three methods have returned, I mean, we have reached a stage where this particular search help is not assigned, right? Now, the one final one is checking out the program and the screen. Now, let me reach out to this particular screen, double click on the particular screen, reach out to the layout of it. You will get displayed with the layout. Now, you know the field which we are concerned about, right? So, once the layout is displayed, double click on the field that you wanted to check. Now, you will have a properties tab that is opening up on your right, and see here the search help is assigned, right? So for this particular field, okay, which we have seen when we pressed F1, when we have seen a search help is assigned, this search help is coming from the screen. It is not coming from the table, it is not coming from the data element, or it is not coming from the fixed values of the domain. Rather, it is coming from the screen directly. So with this understanding, we have found out how, or what are all the different ways of assigning a search help to a field, or in other words, we can also find out the search help where it is assigned for a field, right? So we have seen the types of search help in this class, the append search help concept, and how to find a search help, and what are all the ways of assigning a search help. In the next video, we will be discussing the technical details of elementary and collective search help. We will be discussing about the different facets available in elementary and collective search help. And in other coming videos, we will also get into the hands-on part of it, so that we will have a complete panoramic understanding about this concept. Thank you for your time, and I wish to see you soon in my next coming videos. Thank you.